Why do some women chase the man they once rejected, while others act cold, even after you give them everything? What makes a woman suddenly realize, I might lose him? And more importantly, how can you become the kind of man she fears losing? Without games, without manipulation. Here's the truth. A woman's fear of losing you doesn't come from what you say, it comes from what she feels when you pull away. With purpose. When you shift from seeking her to standing in your value, you stop being an option and become a real consequence. Right now, you may be thinking silence will make her miss you, but silence without emotional power is just absence. To trigger that fear, you need to become the man she can no longer predict, calm, distant, and unfazed. If you're ready to flip the dynamic without saying a word, like this video, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment. I don't need to be chosen, I choose myself. Number 1. Withdrawing suddenly, leaving her feeling empty without knowing why. Women don't love a man who is always there. They crave a man whose presence makes them feel special and whose absence makes them feel empty. But what confuses them the most is when you withdraw for no apparent reason. Not after a fight, not when you're hurt, but when things are going well. That's the golden moment. Because when you suddenly stop being proactive, stop texting so much, or simply reduce the frequency of responses, she has no reason to justify. She can't tell her friends that you're angry or hurt. She's left with only one thing: doubt. She starts asking questions. What did I do wrong? Who did he change for? Why did everything go cold when it was good? And in that state, she falls into the depths of her emotions. She thinks about you more, she's more curious, and most importantly, she's afraid of losing you. From a Stoic perspective, this isn't a game. This is conscious restraint. A Stoic man doesn't need to chase the moment. He channels his energy, as Marcus Aurelius once said. Do less, but do it with purpose. When you pull back at the right time, you send a non-verbal message. I don't need you to feel complete. And that message makes you rare. Not predictable, not driven by intimacy. Here's how to do it. No need to cut it off completely. Just reduce the dose. Respond slowly. Be busy. Have space. No need to signal. The less explanation, the more she has to figure it out for herself, which is more powerful than words. No need to get angry. Keep your cool, like a wave retreating from the shore, quietly, deeply, and leaving people craving its return. Most importantly, you don't do this to get even. You do this to maintain your autonomy, to create space for her to feel your true worth, not through constant presence, but through a purposefully created void. Because sometimes you don't need to prove anything. You just need to disappear for a while and let her feel the difference when you're not there, like before. Comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 2. Be comfortable being silent. The power of saying nothing at all. Most men panic in silence when a woman pulls back, delays her replies, or goes cold. They scramble to fill the void. They explain. They chase. They try to fix whatever went wrong, even when nothing was said. But they don't realize that silence isn't just absence, it's a test. And the man who can sit in silence without fear, he becomes unforgettable. When you're comfortable being silent, you communicate something powerful without words. Emotional control. You're not here to chase validation or close the emotional gap she created. You let her feel your absence. You let her wonder. And that mystery, that space, does more than any speech ever could. In a world addicted to instant replies, your calm creates pressure. Not because you're being manipulative, but because you're being centered. When she expects reaction and gets reflection, she starts to question her assumptions. Why isn't he reaching out? Does he not care anymore? Is he slipping away? The uncertainty creates desire. The stillness pulls her in. From a Stoic perspective, this is the art of calm detachment. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." And bravery in this context is the courage to let the silence speak on your behalf, not out of arrogance, but out of inner peace. How do you apply this? Don't text just to break the silence. Wait until your message carries weight. Don't over-explain your distance. If she asks, respond with calm clarity, but never defend your peace. Don't mirror her emotions, mirror your values. Stay composed, no matter how cold or warm she becomes. Women are naturally drawn to energy they cannot predict or control. If you break the silence too soon, you reveal anxiety. But if you hold the frame, stay still, and remain emotionally grounded, you reveal power. This doesn't mean shutting down emotionally or playing games. It means letting your stillness be a statement. You are not afraid of distance. You are not afraid of her silence. Because you know something deeper. When a woman feels your absence more than your words, she begins to value your presence in ways she didn't before. So instead of chasing closure, become comfortable with space. Let her curiosity grow. Let your silence speak louder than desperation ever could. Comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 3. Cultivate your exclusivity. Why she wants what isn't always available. If you're always around, always responding, always available, you become easy to reach and take for granted. It's not malice, it's human nature. What's abundant feels less valuable. What's rare, that becomes desire. Exclusivity doesn't mean playing hard to get. It means having a life so rich and purposeful that you can't be everywhere for everyone, especially not for someone who doesn't value your time. When a woman sees that you're not emotionally glued to her every mood, but instead immersed in your mission, she views you differently, not as someone trying to win her, but as someone she has to earn. And that shift, it changes everything. From a Stoic point of view, this is rooted in purpose. Marcus Aurelius didn't live for the applause of others, he lived by his principles. You naturally become exclusive when your time, energy and attention are committed to things greater than validation, your career, craft and self-mastery. Because you're not everywhere, you're not for everyone. And most importantly, you are not waiting. Exclusivity is communicated through how you spend your time. Are you constantly checking your phone, or are you building something that matters? Who you give your energy to, do you pour into women who give little in return, or do you protect your peace? What you say no to? Do you cancel your plans just because she calls? Or do you respect your schedule and show that your world doesn't revolve around her? The man who lives with intention is magnetic, because she starts to wonder, why is he so calm when I pull back? Or why doesn't he need to convince me of anything? She realizes you're not waiting for her to decide your worth. You've already decided it yourself. And here's the twist. When you stop making her your center, she starts orbiting you, not because you manipulated her, but because you've become rare. And, in the game of attraction, rarity is power. So stop seeking to prove your worth. Start building a life that shows it. When she sees that she's not your only option, and that your time is a privilege, not a default, she'll start chasing the man she fears losing. Comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 4. Stop explaining yourself. Why over-explaining destroys respect. Every time you feel the urge to explain your decisions, justify your silence, or clarify your standards, You chip away at your presence. It seems innocent at first. I didn't reply because I was busy, or I didn't call because I needed some time alone. But what you're saying is, I need you to approve of me. And here's the truth, women don't respect men who seek approval. They respect men who stand firm without needing applause. When you stop over-explaining, you stop negotiating your value, you begin to embody it. From a Stoic perspective, this is the discipline of self-respect. Epictetus wrote, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That applies to your values, silence, choices, and boundaries. When a man is rooted in purpose, he doesn't need to convince anyone of why he does what he does. His presence does the speaking. Here's what happens when you over-explain. You validate her doubts. When you need to clarify, you unconsciously affirm that her judgment has authority over your actions. You lower your frame. Instead of being the grounded oak tree, you become the man who bends in every breeze, trying to appease and be understood. You lose polarity. Masculine energy is decisive and calm. Feminine energy seeks emotional security. If you're always justifying yourself, you flip the dynamic. She leads, you follow. Instead, try this. Let your actions speak. If you cancel plans because something is important, don't feel guilty. Own it, calmly, briefly, then move on. When confronted, stay calm. If she asks why you didn't call, don't explain in a panic. You can say, "I needed some space yesterday." That's it. No nervous energy, no apologies. Resist the urge to over-communicate. Mystery isn't about hiding, it's about holding. Holding your ground, holding your energy, holding your truth without performance. When a man doesn't explain himself constantly, he signals certainty, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in clarity. And that clarity makes her lean in, makes her listen more closely, makes her rethink how she engages with you. Because the man who doesn't need to explain himself, he becomes the one she tries to understand. Comment below, "I control my mind, no one else does." Number 5. Be willing to walk away. The quiet power that makes her chase. Here's a hard truth. The man who isn't willing to walk away will always be the one who loses power. No matter how much he gives, no matter how much he proves himself, he becomes replaceable, because his value depends on her approval. But the man who can leave with dignity when he's disrespected, that man commands not just attention, but respect. Being willing to walk away doesn't mean being cold or heartless. It means having standards. It means choosing self-respect over emotional dependence. It means loving deeply, but never at the cost of your dignity. This is one of the most misunderstood Stoic strengths. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." In love, that translates to, the best response to disrespect is calm distance, not arguments, not threats, just space. Because silence without drama hurts more than shouting ever could. Here's what it looks like in practice. She cancels on you last minute with no explanation. You don't scold her. You simply don't chase her. She tests your boundaries, pushes your limits, or treats you like an option. You politely step back, and you mean it. You realize she's not aligned with your values. You don't beg for change. You walk and walk clean. And when you do this, not with bitterness but with peace, you shift the entire dynamic. She goes from thinking you need her to realizing she could lose you. That shift activates a primal fear of missing out on a rare, grounded man. And that fear makes her reassess her behavior. Stoicism calls this rational detachment. It's not about being emotionless, it's about not letting your emotions chain you to chaos. You don't walk away to hurt her. You walk away because you refuse to betray yourself. And even if she doesn't chase, even if she never comes back, that doesn't diminish your value. It confirms it, because you proved something to the one person who truly matters, yourself. So remember, the moment you stop being afraid to lose her is the moment she realizes you're not a man she can afford to lose. Comment below, I control my mind, no one else does. Number 6. Give her less than she expects. The subtle power of understating yourself. Most men give too much too soon. They overtext, overcompliment, and overshare, thinking that generosity equals connection. But in reality, what comes too easy is rarely valued. Women don't fall for the man who gives her everything, especially not immediately. They fall for the man who gives her just enough to keep her wondering, questioning, and wanting more. This isn't about manipulation. It's about restraint. A Stoic understands that true power lies not in what you express, but in what you choose to hold back. You become memorable when you give less than she expects. Not out of indifference, but out of self-thought. And the self-regard of consent coalesces an inner being. Let's break this down. She expects a reply within minutes. You respond after hours or even a day, calmly, not apologetically. She expects praise for her beauty. You observe something deeper, or stay silent, letting your gaze do the talking. She expects you to chase when she pulls back. You remain still, centered in your world, unbothered. This isn't coldness. This is emotional discipline. When you're not over-eager to please, you signal that your validation is earned, not handed out. And that makes her lean in, because uncertainty breeds attention. Mystery creates gravity, and when unsure where she stands, she'll invest more to find out. The Stoic lesson here is strategic silence. As Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That means being okay with not always meeting expectations, especially when those expectations come from a place of entitlement or control. So instead of over-toasting to stay relevant, let her reach out. Over-giving to keep her interested, let her miss the pieces you don't offer freely. Over-explaining your mood, let her wonder, let her feel the silence. Giving less than she expects doesn't mean withholding love. It means reframing the flow of energy. You don't chase. You don't overextend. You let her come toward your gravity. When done right, this creates tension, not anxiety, but intrigue. She'll begin to think about you more, notice your patterns, and even question herself. Not because you're playing games, but because you're not playing. And that kind of energy, it's irresistible. Comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Number 7. Detach emotionally without warning. The move she'll never see coming. Something haunts about quiet distance, especially from a man who once cared, not because he shouted, not because he slammed the door, but because he simply let go. Without drama, without explanation, without a single word. That's what it means to detach emotionally without warning. You don't ghost, you don't disappear, you stay calm, present, polite, but emotionally distant. Your energy withdraws like the tide, leaving her wondering what changed. And that question, it drives her wild. From a Stoic lens, this is the practice of controlled detachment. It's not about punishing her, it's about protecting yourself. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When a woman no longer aligns with your values or her behavior begins to erode your self-worth, the greatest power you can demonstrate is not reaction, but redirection. Here's what emotional detachment looks like. You no longer initiate the conversation, but you respond calmly when she does. You stop giving emotionally charged reactions, no more explaining or frustration. You create internal space. using that energy to build yourself, not chase her. And here's what she experienced: confusion, because most men beg, cry, or overreact. You do none of those. Curiosity. She starts to reflect. Did I push him away? Has he found peace without me? Fear, not of you leaving, but of losing her grip on your attention. This isn't a trick. This is self-respect in motion. You detach, not because you don't feel, but because you feel too much to keep pouring into someone who doesn't reciprocate. You detach because your peace is worth more than emotional chaos. And if she reaches back out, you'll know whether it's genuine, because only when a woman feels that she's losing access to your emotional presence does she start to consider earning it again. But by that time you've already risen, stronger, clearer, freer. Stoicism isn't about denying emotion, it's about commanding it. So when you walk through the fire of detachment, you don't burn. You emerge tempered, calm, whole, and unforgettable. Comment below, I control my mind, no one else does. Number 8. Regain power through self-mastery. The game changes the moment you stop chasing and start choosing. When you withdraw your energy, not out of spite but from strength, you stop being someone she assumes will always be there. You become the man she fears losing. And that fear? It's not something you demand, it's something you earn through mastery of self. You've learned that women don't chase the man who begs for her time. They chase the one who lives purposefully, remains calm in silence, and walks away when his worth isn't seen. The stoic man doesn't need attention to feel whole. He doesn't prove himself with texts or gifts. He proves himself by who he is when no one is watching. Each of the 7 stoic tactics leads you back to the same truth. You are enough when you're rooted in your values, not when you get her approval, not when she replies, but when you know deep in your bones that your life matters with or without her in it. And paradoxically, when a woman senses that depth, that unshakable calm, she leans in. Because you're no longer reacting to her actions. You've transcended the need to win her. Now she has to win you, your time, energy, and presence. This isn't manipulation, this is maturity. It's not playing hard to get, it's being hard to shake. So take your silence seriously, make your absence felt. Build a life that doesn't orbit around her attention but around your mission. And watch what happens when she realizes you don't need her to be complete, yet somehow she wants to be part of your completeness. Because the man who can walk away is the one she never truly forgets. Now, speak out and comment below. I control my mind, no one else does. Let's be real. Women don't fear losing the man who needs them. They fear losing the one who's no longer waiting. You don't need to threaten to walk away. You walk with clarity, with purpose, with silence that speaks louder than apologies. She won't confess it, but when you become the man who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, and doesn't explain, her fear kicks in, not because she lost control, but because she lost your presence. If you're done being predictable and ready to become the one that got away, like this video, subscribe and comment. My distance builds desire, not resentment. Stay calm, stay untouchable, because the moment she feels you've let go, she starts holding on.